Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Monday the 21st of August. Starting off with the FTSE 100 where there are glimmers of hope. The old message that any time the market gets below RSI 30 seems to have worked so far. We had a low way down at 72.15 on Friday, but we're already well above that. On Friday the RSI went below the 30 level, and we have bounced as we bounced at the beginning of July and June and even in March, so that is a plus. End of day close back above Friday's high at 73.10 could take us at least up to 7400, which was that mid-July support. But at the moment, not getting too carried away with the bounce that we've had. Moving on to the DAX, and here the risk was that this market was going to head down to the 200-day moving average. So far, it's managed to bounce above that at 15,380. While we're above that, looking for the market to at least get back towards the 50-day moving average area at 16,000 over the next week or two. I'd like to close above the Thursday gap there around 15,700. That would be a plus for this market. So let's see if we can close here or higher by the end of the day. Moving on to the Dow, which was the best of the three that we look at here in terms of the indices. Here we had the risk of a move down towards the floor of the rising trend channel from last August, but so far we managed to get away with it. We're still in a range between the 50-day line and old June-July resistance, 34,600, and the floor of that channel, 33,900, and too early to say whether we're out of the woods just yet. But an end of day close back above that 50-day line, 34,600, could then take us back on a journey to revisiting July and August highs. On to Bitcoin, which has been rather down in the mouth since SpaceX sold all its holdings in the cryptocurrencies, or in the cryptocurrency rather. Here we're right on the floor of that rising trend channel from last year. That's around the 26,000 level, so we did a little bit of trading either side of that. The plus point at the moment is the RSI is down at 20, which is very oversold, so hopefully there will be a positive reaction before we get down to having to retest June support around 24,800. If you're looking for a momentum trigger, then that would be an end of day close back above the 200-day moving average at 27,300 to then take us back to the 50-day line, 29,300. But at the moment, still hoping that this is the low after the decline from 32,000 plus. On to the stocks, and a motley collection as usual. Here we've got Aminex, which is doing us proud. It's always very difficult to suggest the exact point that a stock will go from extended, very boring consolidation to a proper straight move and a breakout. But here it did it last week, started last week at 1.2. We're already at 1.42, and we were looking for 1.7 pence by the end of next month. The way things are going, we might even be able to achieve that by the end of this month. But above 1.2 up to 1.7 on Aminex within that rising trend channel that's been in place since the early part of 2021. On to Aura, which is another point of interest at the moment. Here, the reason for saying that is that we're apart from just bouncing along the bottom, we've got bullish divergence there with the lower low for June, but higher RSI trade, so that's a positive. But the main positive at the moment, and it's well worth seeing whether we get a big move out of this, is the way that the shares are consolidating at and above a rising 50-day moving average. Call that the sideways shuffle. And above that 50-day line at 10.25 pence, we're looking for not only up to 13 pence at the 200-day line, but as high as 16 pence by the end of the next month. I think if that one comes off in current market conditions, one could be relatively pleased. The other point to note is probable that we're in a rising trend channel base as well, so that would make more sense in terms of where we're going on the 16 pence target while we're above 10 pence. On to a requested stock, and it's Bushveld Minerals. Here the picture is that we've been in this falling wedge for many months now, since October last year. The current situation is that we're trying to bounce off the floor of that falling wedge. We've got bullish divergence, so that is a positive. We've also had an unfilled gap to the upside last week, back on Wednesday, so that's another positive aspect. So basically means we're looking at a bear trap gap reversal. Initial target here would be up to the top of that wedge, around 3 pence, and above that, then as high as 4.1 pence by the end of next month. But ideally, there's no price action now, back below 2.25 pence on Bushveld. One of the best charting situations of the past week, largely because it was called here correctly, which is always a bonus, is Beacon Energy. Here we had the unfilled gap to the upside at the beginning of the month, let's say, and at above 0.09 we were looking for 0.14, which was hit, and then above 0.14 we were looking for up to 0.17 or 0.18, and in fact the shares split the difference with a 0.175 high, hitting that line there, which is the main thing. Now we're obviously in uncharted territory, or unchartable territory, but the possibility is that we clear 0.18, we could be at the up to that parallel there, the red parallel line, as high as 0.24 by the end of next month. The key here, though, is remaining above the 200-day moving average, currently at 0.14. That's the proviso on the upside. Onto a stock which is a new name to me and maybe to most, Devolver Digital, and obviously this chart doesn't look wonderful over the past year, but if you look closely, we've got bullish divergence there with a lower August low there and higher RSI trace. We've also had an unfilled gap to the upside, which completes the unfilled gap to the downside that we had earlier in the month. So it's a island bear trap reversal. So that's an even stronger signal, and above the floor of that rising trend channel from last month at 15 pence, we're looking for the shares to hit as high as 26 pence at the top of that channel by the end of next month. So if that comes off, as I said, in these market conditions, it would be quite a coup. Onto a stock which people seem to be very excited about, Dell Tick. And here, the reason for the excitement on a technical basis is that we've had a bear trap gap reversal. We had bullish divergence going into July, and the shares now finding support at and above the rising 50-day moving average. We've got a sideways shuffle adding on to the bear trap gap reversal. The view is now that above 28 pence, recent support, looking for as high as 43 pence by the end of next month. So hopefully Deltic will come up and do what it's supposed to do. Geiger counter is next, and here we have a situation where we have a sort of ragged trend line break from the beginning of February. We've got the 50-day moving average now acting as support. Bullish divergence line there from back in March, so that's probably the main strength of this, apart from the trend line break. And the view is now that above 36 pence, we could be looking at as high as 52 pence by the end of next month. If you're cautious, you'll wait for an end-of-day close through the 200-day line and post-June resistance at 41 pence. Next situation is a requested stock, and happy to oblige. We're already looking at this before. IMC, the reason for looking at it was the vertical move through the 50-day moving average and the bullish divergence going into it, so that's providing the momentum. We've also had a gap close buy signal with the price action today, closing that gap that we had earlier in the month. The view now is at above 0.4 pence, which was neckline resistance, or is neckline resistance. Looking for a target here as high as 0.65 by the end of next month. And again, one of those situations in current market conditions, one would be very impressed if that actually happened. Onto a stock with great fundamentals, as revealed by its recent RNS, from memory that is. Here we've got Kin and Carter, and the overall pattern here, a rising trend channel base. We've got bullish divergence going into this situation, which was basically from the lower May lows, and the current situation is we've unfilled gap to the upside last week, rising 50-day line, so looking for initial target here at the top of that channel at 95 pence over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Maybe by the end of next month, if everything goes really, really well, then it would be up to the 200-day line at 131. But at the moment, looking for 95 pence, especially while we remain above the 77, 78 pence area, which was resistance on the way down. Lap of Honor continues with Lunglife, which had the unfilled gap to the upside, bear trap gap reversal, bullish divergence, so all the things that we like, and had a target there, a rather unlikely looking target there at a pound. above £1 now. We're looking for £1.30 as soon as the end of next month, and the way things are going, maybe it might even be by the end of this month. But what a great turnaround, and what a great chart that was. Hopefully the next stock will follow in the footsteps of Lunglife, Molecular Energies. So far we've got a rising trend channel base. We've broken through the 50 and 200 day moving averages. If we close above 133, it'll be a gap close buy signal, and that should hopefully lead us to £1.55 at the top of that March rising trend channel. The rally here started with bullish divergence as well, so that also is a positive tick. Stock which doesn't have much charting data at all and is also on Aquis, which makes it even more esoteric, is Aura Technology. Here we've got a rising trend channel. Difficult to work out exactly where everything is going, but the best call at the moment is that we're in a rising trend channel from the end of July, and the channel is that wide, i.e. up to 11p. So the view at the moment is, while we're above recent support around 6.5p, looking for up to 11p by the end of next month. Very interesting that hardly a negative day there at all on that chart. It just seems to be a one-way trip, which is very, very unusual in this market. Another requested stock is Red Rock Resources, and here got the first signs of a recovery. Obviously there seems to be a seller in place given the way that any rally sort of fails the next day, so we'll see whether tomorrow's a down day after the last couple of good days. But the view here is, at least while we're above 0.14, we're in a range between 0.14 and 0.2. The best case scenario, if that rising 50-day moving average is a positive sign and works to drag the shares higher, would be up to 0.28 by the end of next month. But obviously be wary of the persistent seller there in that stock. If you're looking for maybe a definitive signal there, it probably would be a break of that resistance line there from back in June, which is around 0.18. So an end of day close above 0.18 could be the trigger to get things moving properly over and above the rising 50-day moving average. On to the last two. First one is one of the things that we really like on the RNS hot list, which is FDA approval. Looks like it's coming just in time for Redx, given the recent share price performance. Interesting that the shares were tracking sideways ahead of today's news, so people were sort of waiting on the edge of their seats. Above the 50-day moving average at 25p on an end-of-day close, we get up to 40p. If you're cautious, maybe you wait for a break of 27 or 28p, which was, or 28p in fact, which was the June resistance, just to make sure the stock is on its way. But ideally, there's no break back below the floor of the gap, the overnight gap of 23.5. Finishing off with Symphony, and here we have a situation where it looks like a rising trend channel base with a rising 50-day line. That's been rising for the best part of a month now. All that's waiting, or we're waiting on now, is to break through that 200-day line. 9.5p above that, we're looking for 11.5p by the end of next month, or even sooner. Shares haven't been above the 200-day line since the January last year, so maybe this is the first sign that we have a proper turnaround in a stock which has been in the wars. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.